Wanna go closer? Wanna go closer?
Ladies and gentlemen, let me know in the chat if you guys are ready for the stream to start. Let me know. Alright, let's see who's in the chat right now. Your mom, Superstar Mario plush films, Skeptor the Wolf, Jonathan, SJM, Shane, Don't Mind Me Sketchy, Kawaii, Alter Ego, and Jeremy Animations, Zach History Notes. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the stream. We are just about ready to get started. This is a almost unplanned stream. I wasn't really sure if I was gonna stream this week at all. It was kind of like a last minute thing, if anything else. But here we are. Just wanted to say hello to everybody. Give me a 111 in the chat if you guys are ready to get started. 111 in the chat. Alright, starting to see them 111s. Alright, I wish I could change the stream latency. So just to let you guys know, there is a pretty big delay in the stream. Kind of like how it was the last time, so I'm going to be fairly behind when it comes to the chat because, again, the stream latency in this is pretty behind. I'm not fully sure why that is, though, so it's not going to be like a real-time discussion. But I'm seeing people saying that they're ready for the chat to, or ready for the stream to start, so let's go ahead and get on in. There we go. There we go. Welcome back, everybody, to another Regularjosh1 stream. Let me know in the chat if the music sounds fine right now, if you guys can hear me, if you can see me, if the audio is perfectly synced up. Let me know in the chat if everything's good. Again, there is going to be a little bit of a delay for me to be able to see anything in the chat, or you guys being able to respond, so it's going to take a little bit of a while. But just let me know in the chat. Alright, let me set that up. Where is that taken down? No, there it is. Okay. Of course, going back. It says it's all right. We can hear you fine. See you good. Okay, cool. Good. So we are good to go. All right, awesome. All right, so yeah, it's been a while. I'm sure you guys are aware it's been a while. Man, I hate leaving you guys behind like this, trust me, alright? Like, it sucks. it really sucks for me, you know? Like, I hate doing that. But, essentially, actually, hold on a sec. Let's see if that's, better. Can I still hear it? Test. Yeah, okay, yeah, that's better. Alright, but yeah. So, Here's the situation. I mean, it's not really any situation, I guess. It's just like, again, as you guys know, in the last video that I posted about, like, what, 2 weeks ago, I was still kind of under the weather, and so I've definitely gotten much better. You know what I mean? Like, I've definitely gone over the cold. That was one of the worst colds I think I've had in, like, the past few years. I'd say the past several years, I think, because it has literally kept me, like, in the house for almost, like, 2 weeks. My throat was gone. Like, I literally couldn't talk for a while. Like, the cough was pretty bad. I think I had a fever for a while. Like, and I was just, there was, like, one night where I was just, like, it felt like I was freezing, but it wasn't even that cold. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. It could have been more than a cold or something. It definitely wasn't COVID, but I don't know. It was, the sickness just like completely freaking took me out, and it sucked because like the day before it all kind of just happened. Like I went to Disneyland, right? And I was already getting like a cold before going to Disneyland, so I was trying very, very hard to like really make sure I could still go on the day I had the reservation. And on the day that I was there, I literally was fine. And it was crazy because like a couple of days before then, I couldn't sleep. I don't know why I couldn't sleep, but I literally just could not sleep. So there was like 2 nights where I literally was just going downstairs and just watching television, trying to get any semblance of rest, but I couldn't. It was so freaking weird. It just sucked. You know what I mean? Gary the editor says, "Ugh, I saw that Bluey shirt before and I almost got it. Also, hey everyone. Yes, I got it's a Target Bluey shirt. Yeah, I was able to get it. Thank goodness. But yeah, going back to it, like I literally just like couldn't sleep for whatever reason. It was so weird. And when it came to that day of going to Disneyland, I barely got any sleep as well, but I kind of was like, okay, no, you know what? I'm feeling good. My throat's good. I have a tiny bit of cough, but I'm good. No headache, no fever, no nothing. I was literally like just making sure that I was okay, so I didn't have to cancel that reservation or just not go. I was almost very close to saying I'm not going to go, but I ended up going anyway, and I felt fine. But then later on in the day, and I still had a great day, might I add, but later on in the day, it was very cold there, and also I was losing my voice at the same time, like halfway through the day being at Disney. And I ended up leaving a little earlier after I ended up seeing like the last World of Color Seasons of Light show, which was a Christmas version of their World of Color show. It made me cry. There was like a certain moment in the show that I don't want to get into, but it made me cry. Like I wasn't even expecting to weld up tears. I was wiping tears from my face. It made me so freaking emotional. It was insane. I was, of course, trying to hide it. I didn't want anybody knowing that I was crying next to me, but I was just, you know what I mean? But after that show, I would have went back across the way to Disneyland, but I was like, no, I'm heading home. I'm tired. I don't feel the greatest, but it was worth it or whatever. And then the next day, literally could barely speak at all. Kind of sucked because I had to pick up my dog from the boarding a boarding hotel, because when I go to Disneyland for the entire day from 8 a.m. to 12 a.m., like literally from midnight closing, I literally have to put her in a boarding hotel because I can't leave her at the house by herself for 16 hours. I can't do that. So, so I have to put her in a boarding hotel, which, it's kind of worth it, honestly. But when I had to pick her up the next day, I literally couldn't speak. So I had to type on my phone on a notepad, "I'm picking up for Jerry." And so they understood I couldn't speak and everything, and it worked out. I was able to pick her up, pay for the boarding and everything. So it was, it was all good. It was all good. Excuse me. But yeah, but then the rest of the week, I was just beat up with that cold. I had to drink a lot of tea and I had to rest a lot, got a couple of headaches and fevers. And again, I checked, it wasn't COVID. Thankfully, I did not get COVID again. I have like 3 vaccine shots. I got both of the vaccines and then I got a booster. I'm not sure if I got another booster. I feel like I did, but I don't think so. But yeah, but either way, like that week, it just, oh God, it sucked. And then like my ears kind of got clogged up. This ear got clogged up. And then it was like when it felt like I was getting better, I got sick again with something else. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm not going to get over the sickness, am I? Like it was crazy. I still have a little bit of the cough, right? But my voice is fully back. Thankfully, I've been able to get out of the house and do stuff. You know what I mean? Which speaking of, last week was very eventful for me. First of all, I was able to see Migration last Sunday, in the theaters. And it was amazing. I love that movie. Okay, Gary the editor, as you know, he did a review of the movie on the channel, and I didn't watch it because I didn't want anything spoiled for me. And I ended up being able to go thanks to him, actually. He decided to buy me a ticket. He didn't need to do that, but he said, no, I am buying you a ticket. So you can go to this movie theater so you can see the movie and yada, yada, yada. So we can talk about it and everything. Gary the editor, hey Josh, how was migration? I literally was just talking about that. But yeah, like I really enjoyed Migration. I freaking love that movie. You know, like I gave it personally, like I think a 9 out of 10, just purely based on how much I freaking enjoyed the film. And so I love it. Blue the saber-toothed rat says, I hate when your ears get clogged up. It's so annoying. Oh, tell me about it. Tell me about it. It sucks, especially when I try, like, I clog my nose and then I try to, like, pop both of my ears. This ear literally, like, it just continued to stay clogged to the point where I honestly thought, like, it was gonna stay clogged for a while, where I thought I may have to go to the doctor for this. You know what I mean? Like, it stayed clogged for a while. It was crazy. But eventually it's like I don't have the cloggedness anymore. It's gone. So I'm all good. I still have a little bit of a cough, but my throat is good. No more sniffles, no more headaches, fever, anything. I am perfectly fine. And I had to make sure on that Sunday when he was buying me the ticket that I was perfectly fine. You know what I mean? And I was. And thankfully, wow, it might have been the most thoughtful thing that Gary has done. Oh, absolutely. Gary the editor is an amazing person. 100%. I'm glad that we know each other. You know what I mean? It'd be amazing if we get to meet someday. You know, that would be awesome. But yeah, he didn't need to do that, but he did. He truly wanted me to see the movie because he knew how much I wanted to see the movie and how much I was looking forward to see the movie. And so that was incredibly, like, very thoughtful of him to be able to do that and everything. But yeah, so I ended up seeing the movie that Sunday. Again, loved it. I knew I was gonna like the movie 100%. You know what I mean? And also, I kind of just have to say this. I am so glad that Migration did fairly good at the box office, I'd say, compared to Wish. Because Wish just now, I think like a couple of weeks ago, reached $200 million at the box office, which is not good for them because that's literally how much it costs for them to make the movie. And then when you take into account of marketing cost and how much of the percentage of ticket sales that movie theaters all around the world get, they still didn't make their money back for the movie, for the budget alone. So they failed. Excuse me. Whereas, let's see, I still have a little bit of a cough. But whereas, say, Migration, they definitely made some of their money back. And so that makes me pretty happy that they did a fairly good job. But yeah, that Sunday I ended up seeing the movie. And then that Tuesday I ended up going to Disneyland, or at least I went to California Adventure. Excuse me, I ended up going to California Adventure because they have like this Lunar New Year celebration. And I basically went over there to kind of try some foods because they kind of have like a little food festival at California Adventure. And so I do pretty much, I kind of go to as many food festivals as I can, mainly with these theme parks and everything. Because I love theme parks. Like, I love going to Knott's Berry Farm, love going to Disney. I have not been to Universal Studios in a long time, but I really, really do want to return there eventually. I was kind of wondering what kind of like a thumbnail that was. I like it. But says hello partner, a nice stream. Thank you. Welcome to I don't think I've seen you in the stream before, but either way, welcome. Welcome to the stream. Right now I'm kind of just talking about what's been going on recently, and so I'm not purposely like ignoring the chat. It's just, it's kind of just something I tend to do, is like I'll just kind of talk for a while, to kind of, I guess, catch you guys up on things that are going on and everything like that. So yeah. Just quickly though, Wolfsburg, Josh, who is your favorite FNAF animatronic? I don't really play or watch or do anything FNAF related at all, so I literally don't have a favorite. I don't know any of the characters. FNAF personally is just not my thing, so I don't have an answer for you on that one. So just to let you know. Blue says I really enjoyed Migration. Yeah, I mean, Migration is a pretty good film. It's not a movie that's really like groundbreaking or anything. But at the same time, it's still a pretty good movie. It's a good simple family movie, and it's just fun. You know what I mean? Like, it's not necessarily something to me where it's like, oh my god, it's so groundbreaking, I love it, and blah blah blah. No, not really. But at the same time, it is a very, very enjoyable movie. I couldn't, like, by the end of the film, I could not stop smiling. You know what I mean? Like, I loved practically everything about it. Granted, there are things that I do wish they could have done a little better, you know? But at the same time, that doesn't really ding any points for me necessarily. So just for purely my enjoyment alone and just how much of a fun movie it is, I really, really enjoyed it. But anyway, going back, actually, hold on. Skeptic says, for me, it's more of a C+. Okay, that's still a fairly good, still a fairly good, rating. You know what I mean? Still good. So, yeah. But anyway, kind of going back to it. So yeah, on that Tuesday, I went to California Adventure to do the Lunar New Year. And I also did a vlog, which I did, in fact, speaking of, I did do a vlog where, I almost typed the previous, title. I keep forgetting sometimes that I changed the name of the, channel. And it's not the Bun Vlogger anymore, thank goodness. I don't know how I came up with that name years ago, but now it's Regular Josh Adventures. I did like a complete copy. I did like a complete rebrand, I guess you can say, of the channel in some ways. Oh god. Your mom says also, Josh, great news. Your favorite film, Turning Red, is coming out on the 9th this month. Will you be watching? Hell no. I'm not. I am not watching that movie. Look, you know what? Speaking of Turning Red, I will say this, okay? At Lunar New Year, at California Adventure, they had like a meet and greet with May and her mother, right? And I'll be honest, I thought the meet and greet was really well done. And I thought the meet and greet was also kind of cute too, because you had May, obviously in her human form, but she also was kind of like half panda in a way. She had like her panda tail and her panda ears, red panda ears. And that was pretty cute in my personal opinion. You know what I mean? I wasn't going to wait 2 hours to meet them. Obviously, I haven't seen the movie, so I would not meet these characters. Excuse me. But I did see a video of the, I did see a video of people meet and greeting them, and I thought the interactions between the characters and the guests were really, really well done. Now, again, I don't really know much of anything, you know what I mean? I don't know much of anything when it comes to Turning Red at all. I'd rather not, you know what I mean? Like, I kind of just stay away from that movie. I don't think I can watch it. I'm sorry. I just can't. Look, me and Gary the editor, we were talking about the film a little bit because I kind of talked to him about the trailer that they kept playing on Disney Channel, and he kind of explained a couple of things about it, and I don't think we even finished that conversation. But yeah, it was like, you know, me personally, I just can't get, you know, into the I can't get into the film, so it's not something I'm gonna watch. Your mom says, come on, it's finally getting the cinematic treatment finally. You gotta watch it. Nah, sorry. Nah, I can't. No, I'm not going to. I'm just not going to, okay? I'm not going to. And Gary says, her having just the ears and tail is from the movie, by the way. It's not exclusive to the theme park. I know it's not exclusive to the theme park. Did I know that? No, I knew that. I just never saw her in that before, because again, I never seen the movie. I'm not planning on ever seeing the movie. Maybe I do at some point. Look, I may really enjoy the film, but to me, it's like, it's just from the trailers I've seen, I've cringed incredibly hard. The characters seem to annoy the hell out of me, and it's like, it's just not my thing. It's not my thing. I don't think, as of right now, I can't sit through it. Sorry. So I'm just, no. Shane says, I genuinely don't care enough to watch Turning Red either. I feel you. Okay, yeah. I'm glad I'm not the only person. Look, if you enjoy the movie, that's fine. I'm not judging anybody, or obviously. It's just more so for me and my personal like tastes in movies, I guess, or just what I can stand in movies. I just can't. It's just not my thing. Maybe eventually, but it's not my thing. But what I was gonna mention though was that I think I actually did share like a snippet of the actually hold on just a quick second. There we go. But yeah, but I did I just put the link into the in the live chat, and I did pin it in the live chat as well. So if you guys want to check out the vlog channel, which is now called Regular Josh Adventures, not the Bun Bun Vlogger, you can check it out in the chat. Click on it, give it a subscription if you guys haven't already. And excuse me. In the vlog where I did kind of try out some foods at the Lunar New Year celebration of California Adventure, I did show off the meet and greet that they do have at the California Science Center at the Lunar New Year celebration. So that was basically what I did that Tuesday. And then Wednesday, I ended up going back to Disneyland again. Now you're probably wondering, how did I go back to Disneyland on the next day? Well, it's because literally 2 days after I went to Disneyland, the last time I went for their last day of the Christmas season, 2 days, their Magic Keys went back on sale, which is basically their annual passes, right? And I was lucky enough to be able to actually get a pass to Disneyland. So now I'm a pass holder or a Magic Key holder at Disneyland. So now I'm able to literally just make a reservation and I can just go whenever I want. You know, like I don't have to pay each time or buy a ticket each time to go to Disneyland. So that is incredible. That makes me so happy to be able to do that. So yeah, it just makes so much more financial sense because, like, I mean, the pass is expensive, but I'm paying like $88 a month for it, which is something I can totally afford. But $88 a month to be able to go to Disneyland how many times you can per month or something, like, come on. I'm not paying $200 or $150 now to get into the park. You know what I mean? So, like, it literally is, you know, to me, it just made more financial sense to do it that way, since I'm someone that wants to go to Disneyland a lot. You know what I mean? So it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. But yeah, but either way, so I went to Disneyland and hung out there for a little bit. And then the next day, on Thursday, right, I actually ended up going to the MJ musical that was playing at the Pantages Theater. If you don't know what that is, it's basically a musical about Michael Jackson, right? You got an actor playing Michael Jackson, who the guy I saw play Michael Jackson in this show, he did such an amazing job. The dance moves, his mannerisms, the voice, it was probably one of the greatest musicals I've ever seen. It was so much fun, so high energy, the way they did the performances of the songs, how they integrated the songs in the story. Fantastic. It was so freaking amazing. It was a show that I was supposed to see in New York in 2022, but because of the family loss that happened, I couldn't. The whole thing, you know, it was a whole thing, you know what I mean? But either way, like, I was finally able to see the musical last week, and it was literally a freaking masterpiece. I was lucky to be able to get those tickets. It was so freaking amazing. Like, if you guys ever get the chance to see a show like that, or get to see the show in general, highly recommend it. It was freaking amazing. And then literally on Sunday at the very last minute, because reservations were available for that day, I ended up going back to Disneyland. I tried to go and see, like the fireworks, but the fireworks didn't go off that day, which really sucked, but it was what it was. But I still had a pretty good time at Disneyland. And so I'm trying to go back sometime next week. It's just that I know it's going to be raining, and so I would like to not go when it's raining, because I also don't want to get sick again. So, yeah. Alter Ego says, gotta go, but now, bye, everybody. Thank you for joining in the stream. I'm glad that you were able to join, and hopefully you have a good rest of your day, and just a good weekend as well. So again, thank you so much for stopping by. SJM says, awesome, Josh. I love Michael Jackson. Who doesn't? Seriously. Literally, Scepter the Wolf says, who doesn't love MJ? Literally, who doesn't? You know what I mean? I mean, unfortunately, there are a lot of people that don't like him for certain reasons and whatnot, though. But at the same time, like, his music and his performances, just incredible. You know what I mean? But yeah, last week was, not this week that we're just finishing up, but literally last week was absolutely incredible. It was amazing. But also, actually, which is, and actually, hold on just a quick second. Yeah, just wanting to confirm that I have the weeks right. Yeah. But also, something really cool happened as well. This Monday, on the 29th, I went to the California Science Center because we have a space shuttle Endeavor. We have the space shuttle Endeavor, right? And we do essentially what am I trying to say? We do essentially we have like an expansion coming to the California Science Center, which is a museum, and we are getting a Gary the editor says, gotta do thingies, have a good rest of the stream. Why am I talking like this? What the hell? Silly. But thank you so much for joining in the stream, Gary the editor. I'll see you after the stream's finished. But yeah, so we got the space shuttle essentially, and it's fully been stacked right now, right? This has been in the works for a very, very long time. I always went to go see I did go to see the space shuttle all the time when it was still like on display in its like temporary state, right? But also I ended up that Sunday night when I came back from Disney, right? That Sunday night, they ended up actually like making the space shuttle vertical, right? So essentially, what's going on at the museum is that they are Truth, Hope, Love says, I see that Bluey shirt. Yep, Target shirt. I love wearing this thing. I love wearing this Bluey shirt. Like I'm a big fan of Bluey, so it makes sense to get one finally. So yeah. Either way, but still, that must be cool seeing the shit. Oh, absolutely. Like, it's being able to see the space shuttle like all the time was freaking amazing. And being able to see it now, like now at the current moment, the space shuttle is shrink wrapped, right? Because they're trying to protect it from the elements, because again, it is raining, and of course there's going to be like a lot of construction surrounding the space shuttle eventually, because they're going to build like a huge dome over it, and they're going to have like a huge like display. Like the display is going to be amazing. It's going to be the only space shuttle ever right now, because we have like 2 other space shuttles around the country that are currently on display. I think it's the space shuttle Discovery and Space Shuttle Atlantis. I think those are the 2 space shuttles that are currently displayed in other states right now. But this is going to be the only one, right, that is going to be displayed as if it's going to be ready for launch, right? We got the solid rocket boosters, we got the gas tank, all of them like authentic pieces, might I add, and we have the space shuttle now in launch position, right? And so that is extremely freaking cool. Like, it is absolutely amazing to be able to see that. So on Monday, I did go and see the space shuttle in its current form, because they're going to end up covering up the entire display eventually so they can get ready to construct the dome over it. And it's gonna be so freaking amazing to see that. And trust me, I was geeking out. I made a vlog about it actually, and so that's kind of also why I did link the my vlogging channel, because again, you could check out the vlog channel, but you could also check out the video that I posted on Tuesday about the space shuttle and it, you know, in its current form and everything like that. So you can definitely check that out. Give the video a thumbs up, of course. Again, subscribe if you haven't. So yeah, so that's what I ended up doing on Monday, and and this week I've kind of just been relaxing, because again, 3 days of Disney kind of takes a lot out of you. You know what I mean? First of all, it's the driving. You know what I mean? So there's gas that you have to consider, which thankfully my car has like good mileage, and so it doesn't really cost too much money for me to fill up the gas tank, but I do kind of still try to spread out how much money I'm spending within a week and whatnot. But also parking. Now, with my pass, I get half off of parking, so I'm not paying $35 each time I go to Disneyland to park. It's $17 for me now, which is awesome. And I get discounts on the pass as well, which is like, yes. But either way, still, you know, it's a lot, you know, and I'm there for like 6, 7, or 8 hours. You know, I always have my dog in mind, so I don't want to keep her alone at home for too long. You know what I mean? So I always collect, anytime I go out now and I have my dog at the house, I'm always, you know, keeping her in mind. So anytime, like I say, if I'm hanging out with my friend or if I'm going out to someplace, it has to be like at the maximum 8 to 9 hours, so she's not home alone by herself for that long. You know what I mean? So I'm always kind of keeping her in mind when it comes to like anytime I get out of the house to do something. But yeah, like, excuse me. I might go and get some water after I finish this, and then we're gonna do a Q&A. But yeah, like, because I did Disney like 3 days, almost 3 days in a row. I did it twice in a row, and then like literally 3 days later, I ended up doing Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Yeah, about 3-4 days later, I ended up going back to Disneyland and California Adventure again. You know, and so, and mind you, it's a workout when you go to Disney. There's a lot of walking. All right. And so I'm always like, excuse me. And so I'm always like, I'm always like, when I do Disney for like at least 3-4 hours, I mean, well, not 3 hours, like 6 to 7 hours, I do about, let me actually check that, because I every time I go to Disneyland, I'm always checking how much steps I take, because it's a lot of walking. You know what I mean? Especially if I'm doing like park hopping, that's even more walking. That's way more steps. So let's take a look. How much? Where can I find that? Can't seem to find it. But either way, usually when I'm like, oh, there it is. Usually when I'm like there for like a few hours and whatnot, I'll do about like roughly, the most I did during that week was like 16,000 steps. And then the next, like on Thursday, I did 16,000. Then the Tuesday I did 16,000. Then next day I did like 13,000 steps. And then on Sunday I did about like 14,000 steps. So it's a lot of walking. You kind of have to be in shape, you know what I mean, to be able to do that. Blue says, and standing in long line. Oh, absolutely. Yes. It could take a lot out of you, you know what I mean? But hey, you know, I'm trying to slim down. Definitely trying to slim down. And so me being able to do a bunch of walking and whatnot, like, it's 100%, you know, worth it. And so, yeah. So every time I go to Disney, I literally try to, literally count how many steps. In fact, when I'm at Disney for literally an entire day, like from opening to closing, this is an example, even though I did leave like a little earlier than I initially would have if I were to stay there from opening to closing, because again, I was feeling slightly sick at the end of the day when I did my last full day there. 26,000 steps. 26,000 steps, which is awesome. You know, and then like even when I went in November for their first day of the Christmas season, I did about like 24,000 steps. So like I'm always kind of counting that because again I'm always trying to like slim down and everything. But either way, still like last week I did so much. I was kind of like, you know what, this week I just want to relax for a little bit and just not do too much. You know what I mean? And that's what I've been doing, except for that Monday. But again, this week I haven't really gone anywhere, and I'm kind of still thinking about doing that for next week, mainly because it's raining. I want to get a different umbrella, and I also need to get like new windshield wipers for my car as well, because the ones I have right now are wearing out, and that's not really great if I'm going to be driving in the rain, you know what I mean? Especially if it's going to rain very hard and I can't really see in front of myself because the windshield wipers are wearing out. So I need to get some more. But yeah, so that's kind of been like the whole situation, I guess you can say. So yeah, and you know, I would have made a video this week, and I had an idea for a video that I wanted to make, but I completely forgot. Like it was, I'm still like, I keep like thinking about like, man, there was something I wanted to do. I even wanted to make a short, right? Like I thought about making a short, but again, I completely just forgot. Like I think I just had so much else on my mind that I kind of just completely forgot what I was going to make a video on. And so I would have had a video come out this week, but it just didn't end up working that way. So yeah, again, I am still trying to stay active on this channel. I hate that I'm not as active anymore. It's 2019 all over again, where I'm trying to post videos, but I'm not. And it's like, oh, I post a video every 2 weeks, or I'm posting a video every month and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So it's kind of a slowdown, and I'm not wanting to give up this channel either. So I'm not there yet. I could be, but I'm not there yet. So as of right now, I'm still like, I want this channel to still succeed. I want it to survive. I want it to blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? That's why I'm doing these live streams, because I want to still be able to provide you guys with something while I haven't posted for a while. So it's, you know, it's a whole thing. Shane said, bro, it sucks when you have an awesome idea and you forget and can't remember for the life of you. Oh, absolutely. It doesn't happen to me that often, but when it does, it seriously sucks. You know what I mean? So, yeah. But yeah, I'm gonna be right back. I'm gonna get some water. My voice is kind of like, you know, I'm trying not to cough or anything like that, but I do need a little bit of water. Your mom says, also just one thing, is it just me, or ever since 2022, a lot of companies have been using a lot of AI when it comes to animation? I'm not 100% sure necessarily, actually. I think there's a little bit, but I don't think a lot of them are. But I can't say for certain. I don't really know. I can't say I've noticed too much AI usage in animation, but I don't know. You know what I mean? I literally have like no idea. But yeah, I'm gonna be right back. Again, I'm gonna just get a little bit of water. And then we can go on and do Q&A. I think there was a video, I mean, not a video. I think there was like a question that I saw much earlier in the chat that I might want to address. Not 100% sure. The person may not still be in the chat anymore. I'm not quite sure, but I'll think about it. But don't go anywhere. I'll be right back. All right. Okay, we're back. So just realized. Yeah, just realized. Okay, so I do have to turn this thing down. Okay. Yeah, because I did not mean for none of the music to be heard. Because yeah, so it's all a weird thing, but it's all good. Okay, so I'm back. So let's go ahead and let's see. I think it was a Bluey question that somebody asked that I wanted to address. Just trying to see if, let's see. But yeah, this is the part of the stream where you guys can ask questions, and I'm going to start. I'm gonna start answering some questions from you guys, because again, you know, I tend to. Okay, so all right, so it was Scepter the Wolf or Scepter the Wolf. I don't know how to say your name properly, and I apologize for that. But yeah, ask any questions you may have, and I will answer some of them. Again, there's going to be some things I'm not going to answer because I may not know much about anything that you're, asking or what have you, or I may not have an answer. So, just how it usually is on these streams. Wait, excuse me. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, so Scepter or Scepter the Wolf, again, apologize for not being able to say your name correctly, because I'm not quite sure, says, seeing how popular Bluey has become, do you think they should start making a Bluey movie? I do think it's definitely possible that Bluey could end up getting a movie of its own. I'm not, that one's kind of a tough one because, like, I don't know. Like, I think they could technically do a Bluey movie. It's just wondering how they would do it, because most of the story, yeah, that's a good one. Could they do a Bluey movie? I think they probably could do a Bluey movie. It would be good to do one, because it is fairly popular. But I think it would be slightly difficult to do a Bluey movie. Only because, most of their episodes only last for about like 7 minutes. You know what I mean? And they are having a special episode coming out soon where it is a fully 30-minute episode. And so I think that alone is probably going to feel like a Bluey movie. You know what I mean? Excuse me. But yeah, it's going to be, I think if they were to do a movie, it probably wouldn't be like a 90-minute movie. It probably would only be like maybe an hour or so. That probably would be like a good runtime for a Bluey movie. Maybe, I'm not 100% sure. It would just be interesting to see like what what they would do when it comes to that. But yeah, it would be pretty interesting, I think. It would be kind of cool to see if they did a movie. But again, they are coming out with a 30-minute episode. And that, I think, me personally, I think that alone is going to feel like as if it is a movie when it comes to Bluey. Zach History now says, when is it coming out? Sometime this year. I think it's supposed to be coming out early this year. All I know is it is coming out in 2024. Which is this year, but that's literally all I know. I don't think there's really, or was there a date? Actually, you know what? Let me look that up. Do they have a release date for it? Nah, it looks like it is just 2024. I don't see a, and it looks like that it's going to be, Yeah, it says a 28-minute Bluey episode is coming in 2024. And it's going to premiere on TV screens across the globe on Disney Plus and on ABC, which is the Australian Broadcasting Corporation. Excuse me. So yeah, it doesn't look like they have a date for when it's coming out. They don't have a date just yet. So I'm not quite sure. Says they made sequel thing upload. Yeah, so I'm not quite sure when that's gonna be released, but I'm gonna be looking forward to it 100%. Because it's gonna be interesting. It's definitely gonna be interesting. A long form. Yeah, shoot, my voice is getting itchy all of a sudden now. But yeah. But a long form like Bluey content that I did see was last year was Bluey's Big Play, and I thought they did that pretty well. The show was about like I think 40 minutes long, and granted that show was mainly kind of consisted of like a lot of moments from the first season, like Keepy Uppy and Magic Xylophone. And the grannies where they're kind of like driving the car and kind of just running over things and stuff. So it was kind of a compilation of that, even though it did have like an overarching story that I don't think we necessarily saw in any of the episodes, but still, excuse me, still, they did it pretty good. They did a pretty good job. I don't think you would see something like that in a movie or even in this like 28-minute episode. But yeah, it is going to be pretty interesting. But yeah, so it is definitely going to be interesting to see like what a Bluey movie would look like. It would require, I think it would probably require a somewhat big story. Would they be able to do it? Probably. I think I would have faith in the writers to be able to do something like that. It's just really more so if they would want to do a Bluey movie to begin with. You know what I mean? That may not be something that they're entertaining. It may not necessarily be something that they want to do. You know what I mean? You never know. You never necessarily know. But it all really depends. I would be happy with whatever they choose. You know what I mean? Whether it is that they do a movie or they don't do a movie or whatever. It would be totally fine in my personal opinion. Okay. Cartoon Fan says, oh, today's the anniversary of Wally Kazam. I remember Wally Kazam. I did enjoy that show when I was a kid, and I wish it lasted longer than it did. And Rubble and Crew, as Antonio made posts about them. Rubble and Crew. I've talked about Rubble and Crew on this channel before, and in these live streams. I don't like it. We're just gonna leave it at that. I don't like it, okay? It's not a good show. It's just, the characters are dumb as hell, as dumb as rocks, but at the same time, it's Paw Patrol. What do you expect? Like, look, I like the first 3 or 4 seasons of the original Paw Patrol series, but when it comes to like the newer seasons, like especially season 8, 9, and 10, I don't want to even get into it. It's so freaking like all of the characters except for Ryder and the pups are so dumb. Like, they're so dumb, and it is frustrating how stupid they are. Like, my God. So, yeah. And Rubble and Crew, I think, is just, honest to God, worse in that regard. Rubble and Crew, the show that we did not need and never did need. Facts. And, and also, the thing that kind of sucks about Rubble and Crew is that the show came out before Pupstruction. And because the show came out before Pupstruction, people assumed that Pupstruction was literally a ripoff of Rubble and Crew. It's not, because Pupstruction, while it did release after Rubble and Crew did, Pupstruction was actually announced way before Rubble and Crew was ever, like, conceptualized. right? Before Paw Patrol ever even made like an announcement that there was going to be a Paw Patrol spinoff, Pupstruction was already announced at that time, right? So Pupstruction came first, except Disney, for whatever reason, aired it after Rubble and Crew, so it was kind of a weird scenario, but it was announced a while before Rubble and Crew was ever announced, and before we even knew that Rubble was going to be the one that gets a spinoff, so yeah. Also, if you want me to be incredibly honest with you, Pupstruction is the better show because the characters are not dumb as rocks. And they're not irritating as well. I don't want to get into it. I don't want to get into it. Just know I do not like Rubble and Crew. I sit through it for whatever reason because I'm bored and I don't have a lot of stuff to watch in the morning sometimes. Even though I do watch like reruns of World's Dumbest on True TV sometimes. And then sometimes I also watch game shows like Let's Make a Deal and The Price is Right on CBS in the mornings. But other than that, sometimes I'll just tune into Paw Patrol and Rubble and Crew at this point because I'm bored. You know, and if it were to be, say, like the first few seasons of Paw Patrol, I'll gladly watch it. But the later seasons, I just sit through them and I'm just like, I can't even do it anymore. You know what I mean? But but yeah, so that kind of that's the whole thing. That's where I'm at in that regard. Your mom says, ironic for a show that's trying to teach preschoolers that have dumb people in their show. You know, and it's funny. Paw Patrol is a show that definitely needs to learn lessons. And what I mean by that is they have characters in the show where almost all the time the bad guy or just anybody will literally like take something that isn't theirs all the time. Like in so many episodes they do this. And then they'll always kind of like press buttons. They'll literally press a button and then it messes things up. Like a gadget goes off and takes off or whatever. And it's like they literally need it's like it's crazy. If there's a lesson that needs to be learned in Paw Patrol, it's to not take things that aren't yours. Kids would literally need to learn that lesson. And you know what I mean? It's crazy. But yeah, they have characters that are so incredibly dumb in their shows now. And it is ironic that they have these characters in the show like this for preschoolers. It's crazy to me. Excuse me. Yeah, Shane says the earlier seasons of Paw Patrol were goated. The later seasons make me question why I was even born. Jesus. And why I ever liked the show in the first place. Yeah, look, if anything, all I can say was that when it comes to Paw Patrol, I can fully understand when you have parents that say that they can't stand the show. Like before, some parents would be saying that, and I was like, the show's not that bad, guys. What are you talking about? Now, when it comes to like the newer seasons, I completely understand what people mean when they say that they can't stand the show. It's incredibly repetitive. There's things about it that just kind of don't make sense anymore. They reuse Chase and Sky over and over and over and over and over again to the point where I'm even getting annoyed with it. And again, some of the characters are just dumb as rocks. It's incredible how stupid some of these characters are. Like, my God. But yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at when it comes to Paw Patrol. Again, I've seen like plenty of other shows that are made for preschoolers. Like they say some of the shows are like on Disney Junior and shit. My bad. I didn't even mean to cuss, but it is what it is. It slips out sometimes, but either way, you get it. But but like some other shows there, the characters are not all dumb. Yeah, there could be like silly moments. Of course, it's a show for kids, for young kids. You know what I mean? There's gonna be some ridiculousness. There's gonna be some silliness and whatever. I can look over those, right? But it's just when you have like a lot of the writing, and especially considering, might I add, especially considering that I am in a show that's fairly for preschoolers on a little like streaming, like kids streaming service on YouTube. Not on YouTube, just online. It's fairly for like fairly young kids, you know. So I know at least from that show that I'm doing, you know what I mean. Like on the show that I do, which we're actually gonna film more episodes, in little over a month actually technically in a little under 2 months, like at the end of March. I'm very excited to go back to filming that. But when I could take a look at like the writing, you know, because when we get the scripts, I take a look at the writing and stuff. I genuinely like how each character is written, how each episode is written, and just how like well thought out these adventures are. And like when it comes to like the lessons that we happen to put in these episodes. And also we kind of do like, because the show is on a streaming service that's also, you know, fairly like faith-based in a way, you know what I mean? We do, like in the show, we do also kind of talk a little bit about like certain religious lessons. Like we'll have like a Bible verse in, and it kind of relates to the normal lesson that we're kind of teaching in the show. And so in the way that we end up doing that in the show, like with the way the writing is and whatnot, I think it's pretty good. You know what I mean? I think the way that they do the writing in the show is legitimately good. The characters that we have in the show, when it comes to like new characters coming in and some characters that come back, it's legitimately good in the way that they do it. And so when I kind of talk about like writing, at least in like preschool shows, you know what I mean? I can pinpoint when, you know, like, and especially since I've also seen shows like Blue's Clues, like I'll revisit a show like Blue's Clues, right? Like the OG Blue's Clues, right, with Steve Burns in it. I'll literally revisit that show. I'll pay attention to the writing, how the hosts were, because I also kind of use a little. I do use like a little bit of inspiration from Steve when it comes to my performance ish. At least when I have like a situation in the show where I kind of have to speak with the audience and whatnot, do a little bit of interaction. I do take inspiration from Steve. Right, because we do a little bit of that, and the show is also kind of filmed on a green screen, which is very fun too. So it's kind of that thing, right? But that is the thing, right? Like I take, you know, kind of like some cues from like my show and some other shows that I take, like again, like Blue's Clues and some other shows that I kind of just happen to also partake in also shows that I take happen to look at and whatnot. And I noticed kind of like how they may do some writing, like Bluey, for example. Obviously, with the way that they do the writing in that show, Bluey is incredibly clever. Especially, it's very clever with how they teach, you know, certain lessons for the kids to be able to understand, you know what I mean? And they also do it in a somewhat realistic way, because obviously, you know, the show is kind of set, like, at least to me, when I take a look at how they do Bluey, it's kind of somewhat set in a fairly realistic setting in some way, where kids will kind of learn lessons through how they play certain games, or how they treat their friends, or how they treat their siblings, or, you know, how parents try to teach them lessons and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like, they do a fairly good job. And so when I take a look at certain other shows and how they mainly how they write the characters, or how they do the story, or maybe how they learn certain lessons, right? Kind of like even with Bat Wheels and whatnot. I do kind of take a look at that, and then I take a look at a show like Paw Patrol, and it's kind of like they don't necessarily do that. And obviously they don't necessarily need to, because the show's been going on for 11 years at this point, and so it's still very, very, very popular. They don't necessarily need to excuse me. They don't necessarily need to try when it comes to their writing. You know what I mean? They already have like a bunch of kids and parents as well really watching the show and kind of keeping the show popular on Nickelodeon and on streaming and whatnot. And so all they really need to do is continue to do the same thing that they're doing right now, and they know that they have like a fairly good amount of people, or not people, but they already know that they have a fairly good amount of a fairly good amount of an audience, you know what I mean? And they know they're not going to really lose that audience anytime soon as well. And so Paw Patrol is in that situation where they don't necessarily need to try as much when it comes to their writing. And you can also technically make that argument with SpongeBob as well. You know what I mean? Like, SpongeBob's been going on for a very, very long time. And so the writing, when it comes to SpongeBob, like, take a look at the writing or just how the episodes are when it comes to SpongeBob now. I'm not talking about, like, say, in the era where things were really bad, like the ScumBob era that we call it, like 2008 to 2015. I'm not talking about those episodes, right? I'm talking about episodes that you see airing right now, or episodes that you see premiering right now, right? Or even take a look at some of the spin-offs, I guess. You know what I mean? Like the Patrick Star Show or Camp Coral. You take a look at how they do their shows right now, right? They don't necessarily need to, not saying that the writing is bad or anything, but you take a look at how they write these episodes, or how they, you know, I guess, like, do stuff, if that makes sense. Compare it to how the episodes were in the first 3 to 4 seasons. There was, like, a lot of charm in those episodes, and there was also some clever moments in the episode. You could tell that they did try with the episodes that they written, especially with how they portray the characters, and also the comedy. You know what I mean? It is very, very, very different compared to how they do the show now. You can tell that when the show was first airing, there was a lot of heart to it. Whereas now with the newer episodes, I don't know if there's a bunch of heart within the writing when it comes to the show. Not that I necessarily think that the new show was bad. Not that I necessarily think that the way that modern SpongeBob is right now is bad, but at the same time, there are quite a bit of things in the newer like seasons that I'm not exactly the biggest fan of. Like, for example, I'm not exactly the biggest fan of them trying to tie all of the SpongeBob universe shows together. You know what I mean? I'm not exactly the biggest fan of them having characters from Camp Coral coming into the original show. I'm not exactly the biggest fan of having Camp Coral, where now you have Patrick's new father, essentially. And hold on just for a very quick second. Just very quick. Just wanna but yeah, you know, I could continue doing this while I'm talking, but excuse me. But yeah, like, I don't like in Camp Coral, they have like an episode where Patrick has like his dad coming over. I think I don't know if like the dad kind of stayed at the park to see what I don't know. I didn't really necessarily see that episode. It was just more so it was just more so that I know that, actually, let's do this one instead, I think. It was just more so that that I know that they had an episode with Patrick's new dad, essentially, or, you know, like the Patrick Star Show's version of his dad now, that was in that episode. You know, not exactly a big fan of that. I wasn't a big fan of like the title zone, the way they try to like tie in the title zone, like, you know, the special where it was like all a crossover. They didn't really do that much of a crossover. It was just Patrick's granddad kind of just somehow scootering through each section for whatever reason, and that was a crossover. Somehow that was tied together. It was weird to me, and like I'm not necessarily a big fan of them doing that. Also, the show does like a lot, and I mean a lot of callbacks now. Right? Like, they do a lot of like callbacks to the older episodes. Like, apparently one of the newer episodes that's coming up, that's going to be premiering on the channel eventually, is Imagination Box, right? Like, the Imagination Box is going to make a comeback in SpongeBob right now. Which, I mean, all things considered, I don't think that's necessarily bad, but at the same time, they are kind of somewhat relying on, at least to me, I feel like it. I think they're relying a lot on, like, you know, iconic moments from the first 3 seasons, and they're either kind of doing a lot of Easter eggs, or they're calling back to it, or they're gonna make an episode where a character returns, or this returns, and yada yada yada. It's like they're trying to throw back to the glory days of, like, you know, stuff. And again, I'm not exactly the biggest fan of that. You know what I mean? Like, it's not great, but I mean, it's not bad or terrible. But again, I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of them doing that. That's essentially what I'm trying to say in that regard. But yeah, that was kind of like a whole. But either way, you get what I'm saying is that, like, because SpongeBob and a show like Paw Patrol, they're such big franchises, and they've both been running for a very long time, with SpongeBob obviously running for like 26, 27 years now. 26, yeah, about like 20, I think, yeah, they've done 25 years, right? So yeah, so something like that, right? It's they don't necessarily need to try as hard when it comes to their writing, because they know they already have like a fairly captive audience. You know what I mean? And so it's a whole thing in that regard. So somebody who kind of talked about this, at least on the SpongeBob side, was I think it's called the Alpha J Show. And he kind of delved into that when it comes to like the newer SpongeBob episodes, and also like the SpongeBob spin-offs and yada yada yada. And he like brought up, at least to me, some fairly good points when it came to that. And I was like, yeah, I can 100% understand why things are kind of the way they are when it comes to SpongeBob. But I also kind of applied that to Paw Patrol as well. And it's like, yeah, that's why things are the way they are when it comes to the writing. You know what I mean? It's because they don't necessarily need to try when it comes to the writing. They know what works for the show. They know people are going to continue watching it, so they're just going to do what they know works. And it's a whole thing. You know what I mean? So yeah, so again, that was kind of a long-winded, I guess, conversation about that. So yeah. Now, your mom says a lot of long-running shows are doing that nowadays, e.g. The Simpsons, Family Guy, Arthur. Yeah, pretty much. I can't say much about Arthur necessarily, because I never watched any of the I never watched any of like the later seasons. I haven't watched a crap ton of Arthur, so even then I don't know if I would really be able to see like how the writing was. Like, if I were to just check out one of the newer episodes, right, of the last season, I wouldn't necessarily know if, you know, like how different it was from the writing back in 2000 and whatnot. You know what I mean? I wouldn't be able to fully know. But with The Simpsons and Family Guy, I definitely noticed the down quality in terms of like writing and everything. But I guess, you know, that's kind of what happens necessarily when it comes to like shows just running for a long time. They don't necessarily need to try as hard, because if the show's very popular and it's very huge and it's going to continue going, they don't necessarily need to try as hard when it comes to like writing. They can if they choose to, but again, they don't necessarily have to, you know. Blue the Sabretooth says, yeah, I agree. The newer seasons of SpongeBob kind of lost that charm that the first 3 seasons had. And I also don't like the universe they're trying to create either. Yeah, same. Same. Shane says, SpongeBob was good, but at this point, why is it still going? Simple, because, again, it's still making Nickelodeon a bunch of money. It's still gaining a lot of views. It's their biggest franchise. They're not going to let it go. If it starts to die off, like, if the viewership does start to drop off eventually, then they will say, I think this is about it. But as of right now, it doesn't seem like that's going to happen. You know what I mean? Not saying I would want it to happen, but at the same time, it's At the same time, that's kind of just like how things are. But also another thing, you know, this kind of, I guess you could say, coincides with like the idea of, say, why networks and studios are constantly, like, say, maybe rebooting series or rebooting movie franchises and stuff, right? The reason why they do it is because they know that these franchises that used to be big before, they know that, or they used to have like a huge fan base, or they're very successful and whatnot. They know that if they reboot another one of those shows, they know that it's going to have like a fairly good chance of succeeding. You know what I mean? And so it's the same when it comes to SpongeBob, right? They know that they can continue throwing money at this thing and they're going to get that money back. That's why you have more movies being made. That's why you have the Sandy movie, which was unfortunately leaked, but Nickelodeon like tried to get a whole hand on that and everything like that. But that's why that movie was made. That's why the fourth theatrical SpongeBob movie is currently being made, because they know that's going to be big money makers at the movie, at the box office or on Netflix, you know, and stuff like that. They just know that, you know, if they put more money into making a SpongeBob series and whatnot, they know that they're going to get their money back. So that's kind of just the whole situation when it comes to, you know, these movies and TV shows and why some of them last for so long. Because they just know that there's going to be a lot of people continuing to watch it. And, you know, they just know if it works, it works. If it keeps making us money, we're going to keep putting money into it and yada, yada, yada. It sucks for us because we continue seeing the show out there and we just don't really get too much new content nowadays. But, you know, it is what it is. That's kind of just... And it's going to get a little worse, especially considering the strikes caused the studios to really lose a lot of money. So be prepared to see way more spinoffs, way more reboots, way more remakes. It's just going to continue. I don't know for how much longer, but it's literally just going to continue for a while. It sucks, and I'm not trying to be like, hey, this is what happens when you go on strike. Of course, I'm not going to do that because I felt the strike was 100% needed. But still, it's definitely, you know, just kind of, I guess, a cautionary tale, if that makes sense. I'm going to turn this on a little bit. There we go. God damn it. It's a little bit too yellow. That's fine. I'm gonna... How long have we been streaming for right now? Excuse me. Oh, so an hour and 18 minutes. Okay, so I thought we've already been like 30, an hour and 30 minutes already, but not necessarily. Jonathan says, in the age of so many reboots and revivals, do you think original ideas will become popular again? I think it is possible. It's just the studios have to be willing to take that chance on an original idea. You know what I mean? Because again, for them, it's a gamble. They don't know if an original idea is going to be a success or not. You know what I mean? And so that's why, again, that's why they continue doing these revivals, reboots, remakes, all that kind of stuff. Because they know if they put money into it, they know that there's a huge possibility they're going to be able to get their money back. Like either at the box office or on television or on streaming, yada, yada, yada. They know that there's going to be a lot of people that are going to, you know, continue making these stuff. Why do you think Disney has been putting in so much money, and losing a bunch of money, might I add, but putting in so much money doing all of these Star Wars franchise, like, TV shows and movies, you know? Or, like, a bunch of series on Disney+. Why do you think they've been doing that? Because they know there's a huge Star Wars fan base, even though that's been slowly dying off, because people have not really been a big fan of what Disney's been doing with Star Wars, but that's why they've been continuing making so many series. And same with Marvel. There's a huge fan base with Marvel. And even though a lot of people are not really a big fan of how Marvel has been recently, Disney knows that's, you know, Disney's been putting in a bunch of money into these Marvel movies and TV shows or streaming services and you get it. But because they know that there's a huge possibility that there's going to be a lot of people watching those and a big possibility that they're going to get their money back. You know what I mean? That's why these studios do it. It's a money thing, which sucks, but that's kind of just how it is. And yes, every idea, like all these franchises were original ideas at some point, you know, but that's kind of just how it is right now. And again, with how things are looking for the studios right now, you know, it's not 100% great. You know what I mean? Disney is not really in the greatest shape right now. Paramount is not in the greatest shape right now. Warner Brothers Discovery is not in the greatest shape right now either. Things are not looking great for these studios, and so that's why you're going to continue seeing a bunch of like revivals and stuff happening. Again, it 100% sucks, but you know, that's just kind of, I guess you could say, how the cookie necessarily crumbles as of right now. Excuse me. Yeah. Your mom says, in my opinion, Hollywood is just running out of ideas. That's why they're reviving so much stuff. I think it is definitely part of that as well. But again, it's definitely because of whole money thing. You know what I mean? Shane says, speaking of shows, Paw Patrol should start using characters like Zuma that almost never get spotlight. I agree. Like, I think they really need to try to diversify like their missions. They can't just constantly use Chase and Sky over and over and over again. They should use Zuma way more often, you know what I mean? Or Rocky way more often. It's a shame that they gave Zuma such like an ability or a speciality, I guess you could say. You know, like he specializes in like, you know, being in the water or like scuba diving, or you know, you know that kind of stuff. He likes to surf, he likes the ocean and everything like that. You know, and I think unfortunately that did kind of limit him in being able to be used in a lot of missions in the show, but there has to be some other ways to kind of still be able to make him more useful. You know, it is kind of a shame that they don't use him as often. It sucks, but it's a whole thing. You know what I mean? Zach says Cartoonito is going away in 2025 since Warner Brothers isn't interested in preschool content anymore. Again, I did talk about this, I think, in the last stream that I did. I don't think it's necessarily that Warner Brothers isn't interested in preschool content, because for one, we do have word that Bee's Block, which granted was a show that was announced by the previous regime, but Bee's Block is still coming to Max, right? And I think there was something else that was going to be coming to Max as well that was also preschool related. I don't fully remember. Well, we also have Bat Wheels Season 2 that premiered on Max as well. And they are still planning on Season 2 to also premiere on the Cartoonito block as well. Could be contract obligations and stuff, you never know. But that is something that's happening. So things are still coming, at least when it comes to like the preschool sector of like Warner Brothers Discovery and stuff. I don't know if they're fully giving up on the preschool side of things, Warner Brothers Discovery necessarily, but it does 100% seem like it. But again, I'm not 100% sure necessarily. I don't necessarily think that would be in their best interest, because if you take a look at Disney Channel and Nickelodeon, right? When you take a look at like the ratings, because I follow somebody on like Twitter by the name of like, I think Marcus or something, and he'll tend to like post TV ratings for the like Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon and Disney Channel, maybe Universal Kids if they make it onto the list, stuff like that, you know, like the top, you know, ratings for a certain week, right? And what you will most often find is that some of the highest rated shows that like really makes these channels, and part of it is because they do happen to have like a lot of airings. Like Nickelodeon has a lot of airings of like new of like say new episodes of Paw Patrol or Blaze or Rubble and Crew and whatever. And Nickelodeon and Disney has like a lot of like airings of say Super Kitties or Pubstruction or Spidey and his amazing friends and yada yada yada. You'll tend to notice that those actually tend to get fairly good ratings for those two channels. You know what I mean? So, and sometimes when it comes to like shows that are meant for the older audiences, not all the time, but then there's sometimes when they get lesser views than the preschool shows, you know what I mean? So at least for say Nickelodeon and Disney, that's kind of where the money is at. That's why they continue to invest in those. It's just with Cartoon Network, they tried, I guess, and I would say specifically because of Warner Brothers Discovery, because it looked like even before the merger happened, it looked like things were going in a fairly good direction. They were saying some pretty good things about Cartoonito when they were talking about it. But again, the merger happened, and that's kind of where it all kind of went downhill from there. You know what I mean? I mean, for Cartoon Network in general, if anything. But the thing about Warner Brothers Discovery not being into like preschool shows anymore, for one, again, it was mainly that Cartoon Network Studios is not wanting to produce any preschool content anymore, which kind of sucks and is a little stupid because they only produced Jessica's Big Little World, and it's a shame they never necessarily decided to give that show a chance. They cut that show in half, which I think was incredibly stupid. And then it's like, yep, that's it. We're not doing any more. You know what I mean? And it just sucks to see what happened to Cartoon Network and everything. You know what I mean? It's not great. But for now, it's more so that Cartoon Network Studios is not producing any more preschool kind of content. The only reason why I'm not exactly, say, certain that Cartoonito is going away, I could believe it, but the only reason why I'm not fully confident about that is, one, they have had a couple of schedule changes recently. They still only last for 90 minutes, which I still think is dumb, but they've had a couple of schedule changes recently. Also, we are still getting a couple of premieres. At least I know that Bat Wheels is going to be premiering their second season in about like a week or two, I think. And I'm pretty sure that would be the same for Bugs Bunny Builders, because I think Bugs Bunny Builders has the second season as well, so wouldn't surprise me if that were to premiere at some point too. And I kind of have to wonder if Bees Block would make its way to Cartoonito. You know what I mean? Is it only going to premiere on Max, or are they going to eventually premiere that on Cartoonito as well? I don't know. But also, the other thing is that, like, with all the stuff Cartoonito has gone through, with them losing a bunch of hours, them losing a bunch of promos and stuff like that, you would think that they would have ended Cartoonito much sooner. But it's still around, you know what I mean? Again, could be contract obligations. Not 100% sure, really, but it's still here. That's the only thing I can say is it's still here. So yeah, I don't know necessarily what that fully means, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if like that means that they're still trying to work with it. I don't know if they're gonna try to save it at any point or whatever, or I literally have like absolutely no idea what any of that means. It could go away. And also, don't forget, we do have Barney. Barney is coming out this year as well, supposedly. And that could just be a Max premiere. And then maybe it does still premiere on Cartoonito. Again, I have, like, legitimately no idea. This is not necessarily me being like, oh, I'm trying to be very hopeful that Cartoonito stays alive or anything. It's just more so, I literally have no idea. I don't, just from what I see, it doesn't necessarily seem like they're fully trying to kill it off just yet. But at the same time, with how things are, again, I'm really not sure. You know what I mean? So it could be going away. It could 100% be going by the wayside. But again, with a couple of the schedule changes that they've done recently, it doesn't fully seem as though that's the case. You know what I mean? So again, I'm not fully sure. I'm not 100% sure when it comes to that. So it really, at least to me, it really kind of like depends, I guess. Just trying to see. Your mom says, don't you mean X? Who the hell is calling Twitter X? Let's be serious. Who the hell is going to call Twitter X? I don't care if that's the official name of this stupid website, might I add. I still don't like the social media site, but still, who the hell is gonna call it X? It's such a dumbass name. Like, let's be real. Like, legit, it's so stupid. Let's see. Your mom says this might be a tickle you situation again, but who knows? It very well could be. I think it's just, what's sad about it is that I think with tickle you, they didn't necessarily do, like, it seemed like tickle you was kind of like a quick thing they wanted to try to cash in on. Whereas with Cartoonito, I fully believed that they really, really wanted this to be like a good destination spot for preschool shows. You know what I mean? Like, they were planning a lot of shows that seemed to be pretty well. And they also, like, put in a lot of, like, resources to truly make it seem that it was going to be, like, a good preschool channel. You know what I mean? Again, if it wasn't for the merger and everything that's been going on with Cartoon Network in general, it probably would have had a much better chance at succeeding, right? Like, if Cartoon Network was not in its current state, if the merger didn't happen and Redraw Your World was still here, right? Cartoonito probably would have been more successful than it is right now, right? If anything, right? Like, what's happening to Cartoonito is somewhat what's, like, it's kind of, I would say it's kind of affected with what's happening with Cartoon Network. Because again, Cartoon Network is not really in a great position at all either. You know what I mean? Like, with how much hours were cut, how much shows were, you know, either written off or stuff that was moved to Adult Swim. You know what I mean? How much, like, Cartoon Network is literally just getting seemingly no attention whatsoever. And again, look at the state of the channel right now. It's, to me, it's complete garbage. It's complete garbage. So it's just not a great situation, you know? If it were to be that they were eventually trying to improve Cartoon Network in general, right? Like, I think that would be a definite different scenario, but that's kind of just the hand that's been dealt with as of right now, you know what I mean, when it comes to Cartoon Network. And so the same thing is kind of what's going on with Cartoonito as well, you know? And Cartoonito cannot succeed if Cartoon Network is also failing as of right now, you know what I mean? So that's kind of just like the whole situation there, you know? So yeah, that's at the very least, like, just how I see it, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, it's not the greatest of situations. So yeah. Let's see. I think I'm gonna end tonight's stream very soon. This is a little bit on the shorter side because I do tend to go on for like 2 hours and sometimes more than 2 hours. But I am getting hungry because I literally did not eat anything at all today. I didn't mean for that. I just kind of got caught up with, like, watching some movies downstairs. Like, The Incredibles was on Disney Channel earlier today, and I kind of just, oh, also Moon Girl was airing on Disney Channel, so of course I checked out the new episode as well. And so then after that, The Incredibles ended up airing, and so I just ended up, like, just watching all of the movie because I love The Incredibles. It's one of my favorite all-time Pixar films, you know? And so I kind of just got, you know, just ended up watching the entire movie, and then I wanted to take a shower. I ended up cutting my hair as well, and so, and I wanted to start this stream a little earlier than I tend to, you know, mainly for the lighting purposes, and I am starting to lose a little bit of light as well, so it's kind of a whole thing. But yeah, like, excuse me. But yeah, that was kind of like what's been going on. You know what I mean? And like, it takes me like about like maybe 15 to 20 minutes to cut my own hair. And then I tend to take like long showers as well. And so I literally just did not have a long time or a lot of time to really be able to eat anything. You know what I mean? So it was kind of that situation. So I am hungry. I kind of want to get a big dinner. tonight. So yeah. So that's kind of the scenario, I guess you can say. But yeah. Randall says this also applies to HBO Max being renamed to Max. Only difference is that HBO Max uses less of the bad AI compared to Twitter. I do want to kind of mention that when it comes to HBO Max, right? Remember, one of the things that they mentioned when it came to this site was the reason why they wanted to change HBO Max to Max was because they felt that the title HBO was scaring the family demographic. That they thought that it was scaring the parents from downloading HBO Max and whatnot. So that's why they changed it, to make it seem more family friendly. Which is very ironic, because if you take a look at HBO Max, right, they had way more shows for children to be able to watch, and way more movies for children to be able to watch. And it's the same for the Preschool show. When they had, like, even before Cartoonito came in, they had, like, a huge catalog of, like, preschool shows that kids were able to watch, right? When you take a look at it now, they barely have anything. Both for stuff for younger kids, and same for, like, kids in general. There's barely anything that they, compared to, like, say, Disney Plus and Paramount Plus and Netflix, all three of those have a huge catalog that kids can of shows that kids can watch and tune into. Max has barely any. And it's funny when you have David Zasloff being like, we just haven't been able to really crack the code on kids on our streaming service. We have a bunch of shows very comparable to the other networks and yada yada yada, but they don't do anything with those shows. There's a lot of Cartoon Network shows that are not even on the streaming service right now. You know what I mean? They could put so much more on there, but they're not. There's a lot of shows that are missing. They want to talk about how, like, oh, we have a bunch of shows that are really comparable and blah, 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 but you barely have anything for any kids to really watch on Max in general. Same with the preschool shows. Why would anybody go to Max for their kids to watch anything when they can go to Netflix? They have a huge catalog of stuff to watch on Netflix. They have a huge catalog of stuff to watch on Disney Plus. They have a huge catalog of stuff to watch on Paramount Plus. You see what I'm saying? So there's literally no reason to go to Max for any families. Like, again, there's stuff to watch, but compared to the other streaming services, there's barely anything. So I just find that ironic that they changed the name to Max because they wanted to mention, oh, Cartoon Network was going to be a foundational pillar of Max going forward, and it was going to help us succeed. Yet they barely have anything for kids to really tune into, families to tune into, barely anything for preschoolers to tune into as well. So it's like, you're not really doing that. So it's crazy to me. So it feels like the change to Max, or the reason that they changed to Max and everything, was kind of just, or changed HBO Max to Max, was kind of wasted. You know what I mean? I mean, I barely even watch Max myself. There's not a lot going on there. I barely watch any streaming services, to be honest with you. But it's a whole thing. So that's kind of my 2 cents on all of this. You know what I mean? And again, Warner Brothers Discovery is such a dumb company. Why do you think their stock prices are so low? Disney's stock prices may be slipping and slightly rising or whatnot, but like, it literally is still way better than what freaking Warner Brothers Discovery stock prices are. Not saying that Paramount is any better necessarily either, but still, I think it's just bad. It's bad. And I have no idea, like, how he's still employed as a CEO. Like, you'd think the shareholders would try to come up with a meeting and try to, like, really pressure him to fix things And if he isn't doing it, like, literally try to vote him out of being a CEO and whatnot. But I don't understand Hollywood sometimes. You know what I mean? I just, it's just plain and simple, I don't. Yeah. Randall says Warner Max is pretty good. Yeah, Warner Max would have been a good name. At the very least, you know what the freaking streaming service is about, because how are you supposed to know that Max is where you see Discovery shows, or you see Warner Brothers shows, or where you see HBO how the hell is anybody supposed to know that that's where you see any of those shows? Paramount Plus, you know you're gonna get Paramount stuff. Disney Plus, you know you're gonna get you're gonna get Disney stuff. You know, Peacock, you know you're gonna get Comcast / NBC stuff, right? Those brandings make sense. But Max? How the hell are you supposed to... It's stupid, and it makes no sense. It's... Yeah. Like... I can rant about this all day. Like, my God. But I, honest to God, don't want to. Again, I am getting, like, kind of hungry. Yeah, it's a whole thing. So, Skeptor the Wolf says, even though I don't use Paramount Plus all that much, what I do like about Paramount Plus are their commercials and pretty entertaining. I do agree. I like the way that Paramount Plus advertises. I saw, like, their newest one with Patrick Stewart, and he literally threw Arnold. The fact that they included Arnold from Hey Arnold in the commercial was pretty funny to me. But he tried throwing him up the mountain because he has a football head. I found that to be pretty funny. It was very silly and ridiculous, but it was hilarious. But yeah, the way that they advertise their streaming service is really good in my personal opinion. So I do like that. Let's see. I am gonna be finishing this up. I'm just trying to see here. Yeah, I think I'm just about caught up. Randall says they are other evil CEOs, you know. Yeah, I know I kind of hark on, like, David Zaslav a lot. Like, trust me, I am not a big fan of, like, even Disney CEO right now. Like, not that he's the worst, but with just, like, with Bob Iger did great things for the Disney company, but now he's not really a great CEO, and we need new leadership for Disney. Because with how things have been going right now for the channel, for the company is not working. Last year was not a good year for them. Their 100th anniversary, none of their movies, I mean, I think like maybe one or two, but a majority of their movies did not even like reach $1 billion at the box office. And their 100th celebratory movie, Wish, did not get nominated for any Oscars. Wish did not get nominated. That one was a huge shock to me, honestly. Not because I thought it deserved any nominations, but I thought that the Oscars were just gonna give any nominations to Wish in general, right? But Wish got no nominations at the Oscars. The Oscars. No nominations whatsoever. Do I even need to say anything? Do I even need to say anything? Like, that's how bad of a year Disney has had last year. It just has not been great. It has not been great at all for them. So things need to change. A new change of like board of directors, maybe a new CEO, something needs to change within that company, because it's just, yeah. I guess Shane says, I guess you could say that everyone's wish came true when Wish didn't get any nominations. That's funny. Skeptor says, good, Wish doesn't deserve an Oscar nomination. Agreed. I haven't necessarily seen the movie, Gary, the editor, recently did watch the movie, and yeah, he didn't like it one bit. He didn't hate it necessarily, but he says the movie is completely forgettable, and there were things that he also didn't like. He really didn't like Valentino at all. Even before Valentino was able to speak, he still didn't like Valentino. So it was a huge swing and a miss. A huge swing and a miss for Disney. So yeah, again, they really, really do need change. You know what I mean? I think there's a lot of companies right now that needs to have a big change in general, but Disney specifically, because look, I criticize Disney a lot, but I still love the company. That's why I criticize them so much, because I want them to be a better company. You know, I want them to improve, you know, so that's a whole thing right there. But yeah, so it's a whole thing. But yeah, guys, I think I'm gonna wrap things up. Shane says, I don't know and don't care enough to learn about any of the characters in Wish. Same. Like, yeah. I'm not even gonna talk about the villain as well. The villain in the movie, or how they decided to turn him evil. I hate everything about it. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that is pretty much it for this stream. Again, I am pretty hungry, and I want to basically get something to eat. Again, I haven't not eaten at all. So yeah, so I am gonna get ready to head on out. I am losing light, and so the camera is, you know, being a little strange because it's autofocusing. Not autofocusing, but it's auto, like, doing stuff with, like, the rolling shutter and the ISO and all that kind of stuff, and so it's making, like, the stream not so great. But either way, yeah, I am gonna end the stream. Thank you guys so much for joining. Actually, hold on a sec. Skeptic the Wolf says, I wish Disney could have just looked back at the glory days when they made outstanding animated films during the 90s. Absolutely, they should have. Like, the choices they made with Wish was so stupid. Again, I'm not going to get to it. I'm getting to it now. I do want to end the stream. But, again, some of the choices they made were so dumb. Like, I just can't fathom that. Northwestern Railway says, it's pretty ironic Illuminations is the only company nowadays that isn't crap to its employees and as a studio, and their movies aren't that well received. True, that is very true. But also, look, they're making some good money as well. They're making their movies fairly cheap, way cheaper than Disney, and they're still able to make a profit. Migration only cost them like $75 million. And whereas Disney spent $200 million on Wish, which, might I add, Wish doesn't look that great. They tried to do like a 2D, 3D clamor animation style. Doesn't work. It just doesn't work. Stupid idea. Should have been 2D animation, but again, we're not going to get into that. We can get into it maybe in the next stream, possibly, or maybe not. I don't know. But either way, we're not going to get into it. I am ending the stream. I'm ending the stream. Okay? Again, thank you guys so much for joining in. I wish I was able to provide you guys with, like, more videos, but again, was getting over sickness, and this week I literally had an idea that I wanted to make into a video and completely lost it. So hopefully I can come out with a video sooner or whatever, but you know, if that doesn't happen, another live stream's gonna have to suffice, you know what I mean? So yeah, it doesn't grow the channel, grow the views or whatever, but I honestly don't care about that when I do these live streams. It's all about interacting with you guys, catching up with you guys, and chatting with you guys, you know? Of course, I enjoy it, you know what I mean? That's why I do these live streams. It's not out of obligation. I really do enjoy spending time with you guys on the live stream, so yeah. But again, thank you so much for joining in the live stream. I hope to see you guys again very, very soon. Take care. Shane, I'm going to say goodbye to everybody. Shane, Northwestern Railway, Zach, History Notes, Skeptor the Wolf, Ethan, Kawaii, your mom, He says, I hope that Disney will get better, but looking at how they did last year, it's pretty damn impossible. Yeah, it's going to be a rough, I think 2024 is also going to be another rough year for them as well. But you can take care as well. Thank you so much for joining the stream. Jonathan, Cartoon Fan, Gillian, I think that is about it. Me too, Josh, and you're like the dad I never had. Wow. Not 100%. Thank you, I guess. But yeah, thank you so much for joining the stream. I think I said bye to everybody that's currently in the stream as of right now. Yeah. So again, thank you guys so much for joining in the stream. Again, if I haven't answered any of your questions or whatever, I apologize for that. I don't tend to purposely skip some of you guys or whatever, but it is what it is. So yeah, but either way, again, thank you guys so much for joining in the stream. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Oh, Kelvin, welcome. Thank you so much for joining in the stream. Hope you have a good weekend or good rest of your weekend. And yeah. I always am awkward when I end these streams. But yeah, again, thank you guys so much for joining in the stream. Hope to see you in the next stream or possibly in the next video whenever I happen to post one. And until next time, you're hearing it from a regular bunny in a regular world. Again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you guys in the next stream. Take care, and have a good night.